Okay. All right, Steve, tell me about Tennebrae, what Tennebrae is, and why people should come.
Okay, Tennebrae comes from the Latin word for darkness. There's a reason for that, because the service will end up in darkness with the crucifixion of Christ, which was a dark event. It's also known as part of the liturgy of the hours. Tennebrae has its origins with the monasteries in medieval time, when the monks would pray by the hours, several hours during the day at specified times. 3 of the prayers were called matins, M-A-T-I-N-S. Those were at night and were said the last thing before you went to bed, as the last part of the liturgy of the hours for that day. Lauds was the prayer that said at sunrise. And originally this was done in 3 days, with 3 matins and the same laud for every night in the monasteries. This is the origins of it. In order to consolidate it all into one service, so as not to spill over into Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday, our Book of Common Prayer puts it all in one service. Or rather, this is actually in our Book of Occasional Services. Puts it all in one service with the 3 matins and the laud. That's 4 different parts of the service. Each matin consists of 3 readings of the Psalms and 3 lessons. So by the time you do that for the 3 matins, you've had 9 readings of the Psalm and you've had 9 lessons. And then lauds is similar in that you have 3 readings of the Psalms, but you don't have 3 lessons back to back. Instead, you have a lesson and you have a commentary, and then you have a reading of a reading from Hezekiah, and then you have a psalm, and then you have a reading from the Benedictus Dominus Israel, which is in our book. That's canticle number 16, I believe it is, in our Book of Common Prayer. And we'll read, the whole congregation will read that in unison, because they'll have it in front of them in the BCP. And then we conclude the service with a very short prayer and a reading in the dark of the last psalm, which I'll read from the pulpit with the pulpit light, because everything else in the church will be dark.
Okay, so let me pan over here. This is how the altar is set up.
There'll be 2 more candles on each side. There are actually 7 candles to the side, with the candle that represents Christ in the middle.
Okay, all right.
Our candelabras only have 5 holders for candles, so we're having to use 2 separate ones on
Right.
each side.
It's
We'll
beautiful.
have a total of 15.
So when the service starts, will the candles be lit?
The candles will all be lit. And
Okay.
after every psalm, 1 candle will be extinguished.
So when the service starts, everything's kind of bright and
Everything's bright.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
bright. All
Now,
the
as the
candles will be-
service progresses, though, symbolically, as it goes along to different
we get
sections,
closer and closer to the
Can-
crucifixion, so things become darker.
right? So then and we notice visibly we're going to be
Yeah, we notice
know,
the lights going out.
the loss of the light, which
Loss of
symbolizes
the
the
light.
loss of Jesus.
The loss of Jesus, right.
Right.
And after the 14th reading, the 14th Psalm is read, all the candles will be out, except for the center candle, which is the Christ candle. Like it's really, these are Christ candles. This is just a candle symbolizing Christ. It hasn't been blessed as a Christ candle.
Okay.
But it will stay lit.
Even at the very end?
Very end. But Ken will take that candle at the end and take it around and hide it back of the altar. It'll stay lit, but you won't be able to see it.
Okay.
And then we'll turn out all the church lights.
Okay, we will. Even these bright lights
Everything
in the
goes
altar.
out. It'll be total darkness, And I'll read, except the
Okay, let me ask you
I'll
this.
read with the pulpit light a psalm.
Right.
And then after the psalm, you'll hear a loud, we'll hit this. Let me buy you just a minute. To symbolize the earthquake that occurred when Christ's tomb was opened. And then, we're still in dark, he'll bring the other candle, the Christ candle, back around and put it back on the altar.
It'll be lit?
It'll be lit, yes, never going out. This is the candle of Christ, which symbolizes the return of Christ, the resurrection.
Sure.
And then everybody leaves in darkness, but we'll probably have to turn on a little bit of light so people won't stumble and fall. Theoretically,
Sunset's right
they'll
about
leave
8 o'clock.
in darkness. Well, see, we'll be through at 7:30, so it depends on how much light's in here. We can't make it totally dark,
Right.
Because of the hours. But everybody will leave in silence.
So I think
And
that
we'll come back Monday, Thursday.
So I think that for us, anybody who wants to, our spiritual journeys, it's just that whole process of walking through Christ's passion, his life, and the last days, and a big opportunity for meditating and praying.
And see the readings, let me. Got no prayer books up here. You'll see, starting with the Psalms. Oh, I don't have my BOC in here. But anyway, the Psalms progress. Like the first Psalm will progress from early in the week to the last of the week with the last Psalm and the last reading. So it progresses through the week in order.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing that. That helps. And hopefully we'll see a bunch of people.
It's a really deep spiritual experience.
That's what I'm thinking, a deep spiritual experience. And hopefully we'll see people on Wednesday night at 6:30.
And hopefully next year, when COVID is gone, thank you God, we'll be able to involve the choir or at least some music in this. And it's much more effective thinking back to its origins in the monasteries with the monks if parts of it are chanted. Of course, we wouldn't chant the Psalms. That was much too long. But there are recommended places in there for the chanting.
Okay.
Like we used to do with the choir on Sunday morning for the Psalm. But the introductions to the Psalm are called antiphons. The antiphon is 2 or 3 sentences which introduces each Psalm. And I'll be reading that, and I'm thinking about chanting those 2 or 3 sentences. That's a clue to the readers that when the chanting stops, that's when you start your reading.
Okay.
And then you'll finish the Psalm, you'll finish your first Psalm that you read, and you'll stop until, that might be at that point, the readers might want to, as a signal to Ken that you're through with your reading, you might want to do this and face the candles, and he'll realize then to go put one out. Then when he extinguishes that candle, you'll turn back around, but wait for me to read the antiphon or chant it, whichever I decide to do, depending on how I feel tomorrow evening. But wait until I read those 2 or 3 lines, and then I'll sit down and you start your next psalm.
Okay.
And at the end of that psalm, we do the same thing again.
Okay.
I wanted to go through all this with us on that Wednesday night that we had to cancel the class.
Okay. Well,
we're
we'll
gonna come in here and rehearse that.
rehearse.
But
Well, we're gonna be
We didn't
okay.
get to do that, so we.
Thank you we got this recorded now, so thank you. All right. Bye.